Though it was true the boy had run out of paths to take, out of ways to salvage his failures, he never planned on jumping off King Philip's Bridge that evening. It was only when he glimpsed, between the rail ties, the river swirling so massive below, a place you could slip cleanly into, that something in him both jolted and withered at once. They would say he drowned, of course, like that sophomore from Hebron they fetched from the shallows last summer, who got wasted at a house party and waited out past midnight singing to himself, only to wash ashore the next morning dressed in everything but his shoes. There was no shame, the boy thought, in losing yourself to something as natural as gravity, where one doesn't jump but is pulled blameless toward the sea. If nothing else, this would hurt his mother least. But once he raised his leg and lifted himself over the railing, he spotted the second platform below jutting far enough to make the leap impossible. He paused, stared across the swirling valley charred by the gloam, and glimpsed the spot where the river turned toward Chester County, where the towns are so small you could light a cigarette as you drive in and be someplace else before you blow your first drag out the window. He sucked in a breath, let it mist over him, then towed his way to the lower platform, where he thumbed off his pack until a mute white splash winked below, and it was gone. Grasping the steel cables, he inched himself toward the bridge's center, where the fall would be highest, the current below churning through the metal beams. A few yards in, he paused. The bridge was over 100 feet tall, he knew, from a field trip back in middle school. It was once the town's most prized achievement, meant to bring passenger trains and money into the heart of Main Street. But the trains never stopped, passing the town on their way to Boston, Providence, Buffalo, Portland, even Montreal. Now only the freighters cut through, carrying strapped lumber or barrels of grain from Ontario. The bridge was painted bright yellow to signal this errant optimism, the color gone now save for a few bolts buried deep enough in the beams to be spared from weather. Streetlights had come on over the mud shells hugging the bank, giving the water the brush-stroked glow of sunlight touching wet pavement on summer mornings, the kind of light you'd see nowhere else. "Sorry," he whispered to no one over the rush as the wires slickened under his palms. The rain, pouring steady for 3 days, drenched his hair and ran cold down his neck. The girl back at New Hope had mentioned, without him asking, that if you dive after breaking the surface and rush to touch the river bottom, it'll be enough. That the rapids will drag you forward and all you have to do is close your eyes until the icy water grows warm and quiet in your lungs, and your pineal gland floods your brain with DMT, and before you know it, you're flying in a clear, windless sky, free from the human cage of your body. What she didn't mention was that when you come up to the edge, there will be another edge inside you, one that's both passable and insurmountable at once. He swallowed hard and looked down at his boot wobbling over the beam. That's when he saw the corpse floating toward him, its limbs stretched and opaque beneath the river's surface, the face staring skyward with shut eyes and its clothes billowing from the thin frame. He gasped and wiped the rain from his eyes with both hands and looked again, blinking. But it was still there, clearer even. He hid his face in his sleeve and clung fast to the wire when a voice called out from somewhere across the water. He thought it came from his own head until he heard it again. "Come back! Come back now, Jesus, Mother Mary, not now, not today." He searched the bluffs and saw, set on the riverbank, a 2-story clapboard house leaning toward the river. Attached to it was a wrought iron fire escape, where a woman was waving her arms about, fighting with some sort of laundry line. He glanced back at the water and realized it wasn't a corpse at all, but a bedsheet twisting through the current. A blast of wind ripped another sheet out of her arms and carried it a ways before it wilted around a nearby maple.